Vrixal's antennae twitched as he stared at the holographic display floating above his workstation in the xeno-genetics laboratory. His compound eyes refracted the blue light into 1,000 fragments as his mandibles clicked once, twice, 3 times in rapid succession. The chitinous plates of his exoskeleton had darkened from their usual green to a muddy bronze. Something was very wrong with the human genome. The laboratory stretched around him in a wide arc, its transparent walls offering a view of the planet below, a swirling mass of purple and silver clouds. The analysis station hummed quietly as it processed the data, projecting the human DNA sequence in glowing strands that rotated slowly in the air. Behind him, through the open doorway, several aliens moved through the corridor. A tall reptilian figure with golden scales passed by, followed by what appeared to be an aquatic being in an environmental suit, water sloshing audibly with each step. Vrixal reached out with one chitinous arm and swiped through the display, his 2 fingers manipulating the controls with practiced ease. His other arm hung at his side, occasionally twitching as his nervousness grew. The vestigial wings on his back vibrated slightly. "No, no, no," he muttered, his voice emerging as a series of clicks and harmonics that the universal translator converted to standard Galactic. "This cannot be correct." He had been conducting routine genetic compatibility assessments, standard procedure for the interspecies medical complex. The goal was simple: catalog which species could safely interact, identify potential allergen risks, map basic biological incompatibilities. Boring work. Necessary work. Except the human data wasn't boring. The human data was horrifying. Vrixal pulled up another screen with his right arm, while his left arm tapped commands into a secondary terminal. His antennae pressed flat against his elongated head as the results populated. Genetic sequence delta 47 inches, human DNA. He cross-referenced it against the Galactic Health Archives database. His mandibles stopped clicking entirely. Delta 47 was the Veshkari plague sequence, the biological weapon that had wiped out the Veshkari civilization 4,000 years ago, extinct, gone, erased from the galaxy. And it was just sitting there in human chromosomes like a parked shuttle. His antennae shot upright. He rapidly pulled up more sequences, his arms moving frantically across both terminals now, sequence after sequence. His chitin darkened further to almost black. The humans had 847 known extinction-level genetic markers in their DNA. 847. Vrixal's legs trembled. He had to grip the edge of the workstation with both arms to steady himself. A crystalline being walked past the laboratory entrance, its faceted body refracting the corridor lights, completely unaware that Vrixal's entire understanding of biology had just shattered. "This is not possible," he said aloud to the empty laboratory. "Genetic material does not. Species cannot just. They are walking biological archives of every plague that ever." He stopped. His antennae twitched forward. The humans had submitted this data themselves 3 cycles ago as part of the standard interspecies integration paperwork. They had just handed over their complete genetic sequence, catalogued, organized, labeled. Did they not know? Vrixal's mandibles clicked rapidly as he made a decision. He needed to speak with the human researchers directly. They had a whole wing in subsection 4, 1 level below. He had met them briefly during orientation. Nice enough. The female had smiled at him, which had been unsettling because human teeth looked like tiny weapons. He stood on his 2 legs, his thin frame swaying slightly. His vestigial wings buzzed with anxiety. He grabbed a data tablet with one arm and clutched it against his segmented abdomen as he walked toward the door. The corridors of the interspecies medical complex were busy during this cycle. The main atrium stretched 4 stories high, its vaulted ceiling embedded with bioluminescent panels that shifted slowly through blues and greens. The central fountain burbled with mercury-like liquid that defied gravity, flowing upward in impossible spirals. Moving walkways carried various beings back and forth. Vrixal spotted at least a dozen different species. A small amphibian creature hopping along the walkway, a massive furred being that had to duck through doorways, several avian types with crests of brilliant colors. None of them knew. None of them had any idea what the humans were. Vrixal skittered down the transit tube to subsection 4 and approached the human research wing. The door was labeled in both Galactic Standard and the human alphabet. He pressed the access panel with one arm. The door slid open, and he was immediately assaulted by chaos. The human research wing looked like a biological disaster had occurred and then been partially cleaned up by someone who gave up halfway through. Papers covered every surface. A whiteboard on one wall was covered in equations that made no sense, half of them crossed out. There was a potted plant in the corner that appeared to be dying. On one desk sat what appeared to be food in various stages of consumption. And there, at the central workstation, sat the two humans. Arya looked up from her terminal and smiled. Vrixal's antennae flattened instinctively. She had dark hair pulled back in a messy configuration and wore a white lab coat that had visible brown stains on it. Her eyes were tired, but friendly. "Vrixal, hey, what brings you down to the human section?" she said cheerfully. Next to her, Ethan spun in his chair. He wore a lab coat over what appeared to be a shirt covered in colorful flowers and small depictions of earth plants. His face split into a wide grin. "Oh man, are you here to see the tardigrade samples? Because I have to tell you, these little guys are absolute units." Vrixal's mandibles clicked 3 times fast. His right arm raised the data tablet, while his left arm gestured stiffly at it. "I need to discuss your genetic sequencing data." "Oh, sure, Arya said, turning back to her screen. "Is there a formatting issue? I know we used Earth standard notation for some of the junk DNA sections." "It is not a formatting issue," Vrixal said. His voice came out higher-pitched than intended, the translator struggling with his stress harmonics. "It is a content issue." Ethan rolled his chair closer, his legs pushing off the floor. "Content? Like, did we mislabel something?" Vrixal set the tablet down on the nearest clear surface, which happened to be a stack of papers labeled Lunch Seminar Notes. His antennae twitched forward, then back, then forward again. Both his arms moved to gesture at the tablet screen. "You have 847 extinction-level genetic sequences in your DNA." Arya blinked. "Sorry, what?" "Plagues," Vrixal said. His chitin had gone completely black now. "Biological weapons, civilization-ending diseases. You have the genetic markers for all of them, in your chromosomes, right now." There was a pause. Ethan looked at Arya. Arya looked at Ethan. They both looked back at Vrixal. "Oh," Arya said, "you mean like antibodies and stuff?" Vrixal's wings buzzed. "Antibodies?" "Yeah," Ethan said, leaning back in his chair and lacing his fingers behind his head. "When we get sick, our immune system fights it off and then keeps a genetic record. It's pretty cool, actually. Our body basically saves the recipe for the defense." "You become sick," Vrixal repeated slowly. His mandibles had stopped moving entirely. "You encounter extinction plagues, and you? Survive them?" "Well, not all of us," Arya said, turning back to her screen and tapping something. "Like, smallpox killed a lot of people before we figured out vaccines. But yeah, generally speaking, if a disease doesn't kill you, your immune system adapts." "Adapts," Vrixal said. The word came out as a strangled click. "Right," Ethan said brightly, standing up and walking over to a cabinet. Both his arms pulled it open, and he rummaged around with one hand while the other gestured enthusiastically. "So when a pathogen enters the body, your B cells and T cells basically go to war with it. If they win, they keep a genetic memory, so next time they can respond faster." It's actually super efficient. Vrixal's legs felt unstable. He leaned against the desk with one arm. And these pathogens, where do they come from? Oh, everywhere, Arya said with a shrug. Bacteria, viruses, fungi, parasites, prions. Earth is basically a giant petri dish. Really biodiversity rich, you know? Yeah, we've got some absolute nightmare organisms back home, Ethan said cheerfully, pulling out a container and popping it open. He offered it to Vrixal. Want a cookie? They're homemade. Vrixal stared at the brown circular objects, his antennae pressed flat against his head. Those are food? Yeah, man, chocolate chip. Well, earth chocolate. We checked, and it's not toxic too. What was your species classification again? You do not know if your food will kill me, Vrixal said. No. We checked the compatibility charts, Arya said, waving one hand dismissively while her other hand typed. You're good with carbon-based sugars and fats. Might give you indigestion, but won't kill you. Might give me indigestion, Vrixal repeated. His voice had gone up another octave. Ethan set the container down and sat on the edge of the desk. So, what's the problem with the genetic data? I mean, yeah, we've got a lot of disease markers, but that's just because Earth has a lot of diseases. Is it taking up too much database space? Vrixal's compound eyes seemed to fracture the light more intensely. Both his arms came up to gesture at the tablet again. Do you understand what the Veshkari plague was? Nope, Arya said. It was a biological weapon that killed 47 billion Veshkari in 6 planetary rotations, Vrixal said. His mandibles clicked rapidly. Their entire civilization collapsed. They are extinct. Oh, damn, Ethan said, his face falling. That's terrible. You have it, Vrixal said, pointing one chitinous finger at Arya. You, personally, in your cells, right now. Arya looked down at her arms as if expecting to see something. I do? Sequence Delta 47, Vrixal said. It is in your genome, both of you. Huh, Arya said. She turned to her terminal and pulled up something. Let me check. Oh, yeah? Wait, that looks like a pox virus variant. It was engineered specifically to target Veshkari respiratory crystalline structures, Vrixal said. His antennae were vibrating now. It cannot infect any other known species. Right, Arya said, squinting at her screen. Yeah, the protein binding sites are really specific. This would never work on a standard carbon-based respiratory system. So how do you have it? Vrixal's voice cracked on the last word. Ethan scratched his head with one hand. I mean, we probably got exposed to something similar at some point. Like, if the protein structure is close enough to something we encountered, our immune system might have developed a parallel defense. Parallel defense, Vrixal said. Yeah, like convergent evolution, but for antibodies, Ethan said, grinning. The body's pretty good at recognizing patterns. Vrixal's legs were definitely shaking now. He pulled up the tablet with both arms, holding it between them. You have the Krath hemorrhagic fever sequence. Okay, Arya said. It killed every Krath in the Omega sector, Vrixal said. 37 star systems. Complete extinction event. Yikes, Ethan said, wincing. You have the Talmori nerve toxin markers, Vrixal continued, his voice rising. The Vrosh cellular degradation plague. The Shektar genetic unraveling virus. Do you understand what I am telling you? You have genetic defenses against diseases that end civilizations. Arya and Ethan exchanged a look. Arya's face scrunched up in thought. I mean, okay, that sounds bad when you put it that way. How else would I put it? Vrixal's antennae were straight up now, rigid with stress. Ethan stood up and walked over to the whiteboard, grabbing a marker with one hand. Okay, so I think there might be a misunderstanding about how human immune systems work. Can I draw this out? Draw, Vrixal said weakly. So, Ethan began sketching on the board with exaggerated enthusiasm. Humans get sick a lot. Like, a lot. A lot. We've got bacteria in our gut, on our skin, in our mouth. Most of them are fine. We've got a whole symbiotic thing going. But we also encounter pathogens constantly. Constantly, Vrixal repeated. Oh yeah, Arya said, spinning in her chair. Like, right now, I probably have a mild rhinovirus. I've been sneezing all morning. Vrixal took a step back. You are actively diseased. It's just a cold, Arya said. A cold, yeah. You know, runny nose, congestion, maybe a cough, Arya said. Super common. I'll be fine in a few days. Vrixal's chitin had gone from black to a sickly grey. You are casually discussing active infection. I mean, it's not a big deal, Arya said. Want some hand sanitizer? We've got extra. Why would you have hand sanitizer? Vrixal asked. Because our hands are covered in bacteria, Ethan said cheerfully, still drawing incomprehensible diagrams on the whiteboard. Like, millions of microorganisms. Gotta keep the load manageable. Your hands are covered in millions of microorganisms, Vrixal said. The translator was definitely struggling now, adding a staticky quality to his voice. Well, yeah, Arya said. I mean, so is the rest of me. The human body has more bacterial cells than human cells. We're basically walking ecosystems. Vrixal's mandibles opened and closed several times without producing sound. His vestigial wings were vibrating so fast they were humming. Ethan turned around from the whiteboard, marker still in one hand. Okay, so here's the thing. Earth is what we call a Class 4 death world. Death world, Vrixal said. Yeah, it's in the classification we submitted, Arya said, pulling it up on her screen. High gravity, extreme temperature variations, intense radiation exposure, aggressive megafauna, and a really robust microbial ecosystem. Robust, Vrixal said. Super robust, Ethan agreed. Like everything on Earth is either trying to eat you, poison you, or infect you. So humans evolved to deal with that. Really aggressive immune system, redundant organs, high pain tolerance, persistence, predator stamina. You are aware that your planet is actively hostile to life, Vrixal said slowly. I mean, yeah, Arya said, but it's home, you know? Vrixal's legs gave out. He sat down heavily in the nearest chair, his segmented body folding awkwardly. Both his arms came up to cradle his elongated head. You do not understand what you are. We're humans, Ethan said, looking confused. You are weapons, Vrixal said. His antennae lay completely flat. You are biological weapons that walk and talk and eat cookies. That seems a little dramatic, Arya said. Vrixal looked up at her with his compound eyes. The fractured light made it hard to read his expression, but his voice carried undeniable horror. Every species in the galactic community evolved on worlds with stable ecosystems and manageable pathogen loads. We get sick, we die. Our planets have perhaps a dozen major diseases. You have thousands, tens of thousands, and you just live with them. Well, we treat them when we can, Arya said. Medicine, vaccines, antibiotics. You invented medicine because you needed it to survive childhood, Vrixal said. I guess, Arya looked at Ethan. Is that weird? I'm starting to think it might be, Ethan said quietly. Vrixal stood up again, his legs steadier now, replaced by a different kind of energy, manic, frantic. Both his arms gestured wildly. I need to run more tests. I need to cross-reference your genetic markers with every known species. I need to. He stopped. His antennae twitched. His mandibles clicked once. If you have genetic defenses against extinction plagues you never encountered, Vrixal said slowly, then your immune system is not just remembering diseases, it is predicting them. Predicting, Arya said, your DNA has defense sequences for pathogens that killed species on the other side of the galaxy, Vrixal said. His voice had dropped to barely above a whisper. Diseases you never met, plagues that never reached Earth. But somehow, your genetics developed countermeasures. Ethan set down his marker. That's a really good question. Yeah, how would that work? Arya said, turning to her terminal. Unless the protein structures are so similar that… No, Vrixal said. His chitin was shifting back to black. No, I checked. The specificity is too exact. You have the precise genetic counter sequences, not approximate, not similar, exact. The room went quiet, except for the hum of the equipment and the distant sounds of the complex. Somewhere far away, footsteps echoed as another alien walked through the corridor. Ethan broke the silence. So, what are you saying? Vrixal's antennae rose slowly, trembling. His compound eyes reflected both humans in 1,000 fragments. His mandibles clicked out a rhythm that sounded almost like laughter, if laughter could convey existential dread. I am saying that the galaxy mapped the human genome to find your weaknesses, Vrixal said quietly, and instead we found that you are the weakness. You are not just resistant to the diseases that killed us. You are carriers of them, dormant, waiting. You are walking genetic archives of every plague that ever existed, and your DNA somehow knows how to kill species you have never met. Arya and Ethan stared at him. That's ridiculous, Arya said. Right? Vrixal picked up his tablet with both arms. I need to go to the Galactic Health Archives. I need to test this. I need to prove I am wrong. And if you're not wrong? Ethan asked. Vrixal turned in the doorway, his segmented body silhouetted against the corridor lights. An aquatic being in an environmental suit passed behind him, completely oblivious. If I am not wrong, Vrixal said, his antennae flat against his head, then humanity is not a new species joining the galactic community. You are a biological failsafe, an extinction button, and we just invited you in. The door slid closed behind him. Arya and Ethan sat in silence for a moment. Should we be worried? Arya asked. I'm not sure, Ethan said. Want a cookie? Yeah, okay. The Galactic Health Archives database chamber was cathedral-sized and eerily quiet. Floating dataspheres drifted through the air like luminous bubbles, each one containing the complete medical history of an entire species. Vrixal stood at a central search terminal, both his arms working frantically across holographic keyboards that materialized and dissolved at his touch. His antennae were locked in a forward position, rigid with focus. His chitin had settled into a dark bronze, the color of sustained dread. Behind him, the door hissed open. Footsteps. Human footsteps. Hey, Vrixal, wait up, Ethan's voice echoed through the vast chamber. Vrixal's mandibles clicked in rapid succession. He did not turn around. You should not be here. Yeah, well, you kind of ran out in the middle of a bombshell revelation, Arya said, walking up beside him. She carried a disposable cup that steamed slightly. Figured we should probably talk about the whole humans are biological weapons thing. What is that? Vrixal said, pointing one chitinous finger at the cup. Coffee, Arya said. You are ingesting stimulants. It's been a long day, Arya said, taking a sip. Vrixal's wings vibrated. He turned back to the terminal and pulled up a new data sphere with a swipe of his right arm. It expanded in the air between them, showing a complex genetic map. I have been cross-referencing human genetic markers with the archived disease profiles of 2,847 extinct or endangered species. And, Ethan asked, and you have countermeasures for 97% of them, Vrixal said. His voice was flat. Diseases from species that went extinct before humans developed space travel, before humans developed written language, before humans existed as a distinct evolutionary branch. Arya frowned, stepping closer to the display. She reached out with one hand and manipulated the genetic strand, rotating it. That doesn't make sense. You can't develop antibodies for something you've never been exposed to. Exactly, Vrixal said. His antennae twitched. Which means either your evolutionary timeline is incorrect, or what? Ethan asked. Vrixal pulled up another sphere with his left arm. This one showed a timeline with species extinction events marked in red. Thousands of them, scattered across galactic history like drops of blood. Or, human DNA is not defensive, it is offensive. Offensive, Arya repeated. You do not carry the genetic memory of surviving these plagues, Vrixal said, turning to face them both. His compound eyes caught the light from the data spheres, fracturing it into rainbow patterns across his face. You carry the genetic blueprint of creating them. The chamber went very quiet. Somewhere in the distance, a data sphere chimed softly as it completed an archive rotation. Ethan laughed. It was a short, nervous sound. Okay, that's actually insane. Is it? Vrixal gestured at the floating timeline with both arms. Look at the pattern. Every major extinction event in the last 50,000 galactic cycles has a corresponding genetic marker in human DNA. Every single one. Arya set her coffee down on the terminal edge. Her hands moved to her hips. You're saying humans caused plagues across the galaxy before we even left Earth? That's impossible. Yes, Vrixal said. It should be impossible. But the data does not lie. Data can be misinterpreted, Arya said. Then help me interpret it correctly, Vrixal said, his mandibles spreading slightly. Explain to me how your species has the exact genetic sequences necessary to kill mine. We don't even know your species' vulnerabilities, Ethan said. Yes, Vrixal said quietly. You do. He pulled up a new display with his right arm. It showed the Vrixal genome next to a human genetic sequence. A single strand in the human DNA pulsed with red light. This is the sequence for a prion disease that targets chitinous neural pathways. It does not exist in nature. It has never been observed. But if it did exist, it would kill every member of my species within 3 planetary rotations. And we just have that, Arya said, leaning closer. Dormant, Vrixal said. Inactive, waiting. For what? Ethan asked. Vrixal's antennae flattened completely against his head. I do not know. Activation trigger, perhaps. Environmental pressure. Or perhaps nothing. Perhaps it simply exists as potential. Arya picked up her coffee again, took a long drink, then set it back down. Okay, let's say you're right. Let's say human DNA somehow contains theoretical bioweapons against every species in the galaxy. Why? What's the evolutionary advantage? There isn't one, Vrixal said, unless... He trailed off. His wings began to vibrate again. Unless what? Ethan pressed. Unless humans are not naturally evolved, Vrixal said. The words came out slowly, each one carefully placed. Unless you were designed. The 3 of them stood in the massive chamber, surrounded by the ghosts of extinct civilizations, the weight of the implication settling over them like a shroud. Arya broke first. That's ridiculous. We have a complete fossil record. We evolved from primates. We have the entire evolutionary chain documented. On a death world where everything is hostile, Vrixal said. Where disease pressure is so intense that you evolved an immune system capable of predicting pathogens you have never encountered. Where you somehow developed genetic countermeasures against extinction events that happened on the other side of the galaxy. Coincidence, Ethan said, but his voice lacked conviction. 547 coincidences? Vrixal pulled up more data spheres. They filled the air around them, glowing softly. 789 coincidences? 2,198 coincidences? So what's your theory? Arya asked. Some ancient race built humans as a doomsday weapon and just left us on Earth. I do not have a theory, Vrixal said. His mandibles clicked softly. I have terror. The door to the chamber hissed open again. A reptilian figure in a security uniform stood in the doorway, scales gleaming gold under the light. Xenobiologist Vrixal, the Biological Threat Response Center has requested your presence. They detected unusual archive access patterns, Vrixal's chitin darkened further. I am coming. He looked at Arya and Ethan. You should come as well. Are we in trouble? Ethan asked. We are all in trouble, Vrixal said. The Emergency Biological Threat Response Center was dim, lit primarily by red alert lighting and the glow of tactical displays. A semicircle of terminals faced a central platform where Vrixal stood, his segmented body casting long shadows. Arya and Ethan stood slightly behind him. Around the room, various species monitored data feeds. A crystalline being worked at one station, its body refracting the red light into pink patterns. An avian creature with a prominent crest typed rapidly at another. On the main display, the results of Vrixal's analysis rotated slowly. The conclusion is inescapable, Vrixal said, his voice projecting through the translator system. Human genetic material contains latent sequences that correspond to extinction-level threats for 97% of known galactic species. Whether by design or by impossible coincidence, humanity represents a biological threat unlike anything in recorded history. Murmuring filled the chamber. Several aliens shifted uncomfortably. The crystalline being's color shifted from blue to amber. So what do we do? The avian creature asked, its crest flattening against its head. Vrixal's antennae twitched. I do not know. Quarantine? Someone suggested. They are already integrated into 47 colony worlds. Another voice called out. We could restrict movement, the reptilian security officer said. Arya stepped forward. Excuse me. Hi, hello, human here. She raised one hand. I feel like maybe we should be part of this conversation since it's about us. You are biological hazards, the crystalline being said, its voice like wind chimes. No offense intended. Some taken, Arya said. Ethan moved up beside her. Look, I get that this is scary, but we've been living with these genetic sequences our whole evolutionary history, and we've never accidentally genocided anyone. You have never left your planet until recently, Vrixal said quietly. Okay, fair point, Ethan conceded. Arya crossed her arms. So, what are you suggesting? That we're all ticking time bombs? That at any moment we might spontaneously generate a plague that wipes out the galaxy? The data suggests it is possible, Vrixal said. The data suggests a correlation, Arya countered. Correlation is not causation. Maybe the reason our DNA matches these extinction events is because we evolved in an environment that prepared us for everything. Maybe we're not the cause, we're the solution. Vrixal's antennae rose slightly. Explain. Earth is a nightmare, Arya said. You said it yourself. Death world. Everything trying to kill us. So we evolved to handle it. Maybe what you're seeing in our genome isn't a library of weapons. Maybe it's a library of cures. The room went quiet. We don't carry the diseases, Ethan said, picking up Arya's thread. We carry the immunity, the resistance. If you wanted to protect the galaxy from extinction-level plagues, you'd create a species that had already survived all of them. Vrixal's mandibles clicked slowly. An immune system for the galaxy. Exactly, Arya said. Or a failsafe, the crystalline being said darkly. If any species becomes too dangerous, the humans activate and eliminate the threat. We don't activate, Arya said, exasperated. We just exist, aggressively. Vrixal stood motionless on the platform, his compound eyes reflecting the red emergency lighting. His antennae moved slowly through several positions as he processed. Finally, he spoke. We cannot know the truth. Not with certainty, but we know this. Humans are either the galaxy's greatest threat or its greatest defense, and we cannot afford to guess wrong. So, what's the ruling? Ethan asked. Vrixal's chitin shifted to a lighter bronze, almost accepting. Mandatory human medical liaisons on all integrated worlds. Genetic monitoring. Strict protocols for human biological samples. And, he paused, and a standing emergency response team Just in case. Just in case we go full plague mode, Arya said. Yes, Arya sighed. This is going to be so much paperwork. 3 cycles later, Arya sat in the human research wing, filling out integration protocol forms. Ethan walked in carrying 2 cups of coffee and handed her one. So we're officially the galaxy's favorite biohazards, he said, sitting down. Apparently, Arya said, signing another digital form. Vrixal sent me a message. They're creating a whole new branch of xenobiology focused on human genetic analysis. Is he still terrified of us? Probably, Arya said. But he also asked if we wanted to collaborate on a paper about comparative immune systems. That's progress, Ethan said. He took a sip of coffee, then grinned. You know what's funny? What? We came to the stars looking for our place in the universe, Ethan said. Turns out our place is walking apocalypse that might also save everyone. Arya laughed. Could be worse. Could be better. Could be more paperwork. Please no. Outside their window, the station rotated slowly. Ships came and went. Aliens of a dozen species walked the corridors, going about their lives. And in the xeno-genetics laboratory 1 level up, Vrixal worked late into the cycle, his antennae twitching as he uncovered another impossible coincidence in the human genome. He had stopped trying to prove himself wrong. Now, he was just trying to understand, and hoping desperately that understanding would be enough.